Prime Minister, Mark, you're very welcome here at Downing Street. It's fantastic to have this opportunity to have you here so early on in your tenure. And the relationship between our two countries has always been strong, to sovereign allies, so much in common, shared history, shared values, shared king, and all the work we do in the Commonwealth together.
Canada is being punished by Donald Trump with harsher tariffs every single day. That's the very reason Canadians turn to a new Prime Minister, someone they believe can stand up to Trump's economic war. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer has so far avoided this fate. Trump granted Britain an exemption, sparing the UK from the crushing tariffs already crippling Canada. But that fragile deal is now in danger. Why? Because Starmer is welcoming someone who openly seeks to build an anti-Trump alliance. Yes, Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, is doing exactly that. Instead of flying to Washington to appease Trump, Carney has chosen Europe, and now he has arrived in the UK. The question is, how will Starmer balance this? Can he afford to stand beside a leader Trump already sees as an enemy in his trade war? Or is he gambling Britain's national interest and risking Trump's fury like never before? Keir Starmer may have dodged tariffs for now, but his latest political maneuver could destroy the fragile understanding he has with Washington. As Canada suffers under Trump's brutal retaliation, Carney is refusing to bow. By traveling to Paris and London before even setting foot in Washington, he's sending a direct message: Canada will find allies elsewhere to resist American pressure. And Starmer is not hesitating to welcome him. What he doesn't seem to grasp is just how high the cost could be. Because when it comes to Trump, decades of goodwill can vanish in seconds. Just look at what happened to Canada. Trump's punishment was swift and brutal. He slapped 25% tariffs on aluminium, 25% on steel, and even threatened to raise them to 50%. These sweeping measures are crippling Canadian exports and driving its economy toward recession. These tariffs are crippling Canadian exports, plunging the country's economy toward a full-scale recession. But Trump's hostility toward Canada doesn't stop at economics. He has openly hinted at annexing Canadian territory, even mocking the nation as America's 51st state. His taunts against Justin Trudeau, calling him Governor Trudeau, made it clear Trump sees Canada not as a sovereign partner, but as a subordinate expected to obey U.S. interests. But now, Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, is refusing to be bullied. His decision to visit France and the UK before setting foot in Washington was no accident. It was a calculated snub, a signal that Canada is ready to build new alliances rather than submit to Trump's pressure. And this is where Keir Starmer's miscalculation becomes obvious. By standing beside Carney at this moment, Starmer isn't just offering diplomatic courtesy, he's directly undermining Trump's economic war strategy. Carney's trip to Paris and London is a high-stakes power move, showing Canada's determination to align with Europe against Trump's trade assault. His meeting with Emmanuel Macron was the first clear sign that Canada is seeking allies outside of its traditional U.S. partnership. And the timing? No coincidence. This is a deliberate act of defiance aimed straight at Washington. Now Carney has arrived in the UK, welcomed personally by King Charles at Buckingham Palace before heading to Downing Street to meet Keir Starmer. The symbolism could not be greater. With Trump escalating sanctions against Canada and doubling down on his America First agenda, Starmer finds himself walking a dangerous diplomatic tightrope. For him, the dilemma is simple but brutal. Britain shares deep historic, economic, and political ties with Canada, but in Trump's worldview, there are only two categories: allies and enemies. Hosting Carney at this exact moment is not just goodwill. It is a political statement. And by aligning himself with Carney, now positioning as the leader of a growing anti-Trump coalition, Starmer is indirectly signaling opposition to Trump himself. And make no mistake, Washington will notice. Trump has no patience for perceived betrayal. The moment Starmer shakes Carney's hand and praises their shared values, he is effectively telling the world that Britain sympathizes with Carney's defiance. This is a breathtakingly risky move for a nation still dependent on favorable U.S. trade terms. One wrong step, and Starmer could find Britain paying the same heavy price as Canada. But before we dive deeper, tell us, are you enjoying this video? If you are, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exclusive updates on British politics and the global power shifts shaping our future. If yes, please like and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exclusive updates on the groundbreaking changes shaking British politics. Now, let's continue. To understand the full weight of this crisis, we need to grasp how Donald Trump views foreign relations. Unlike past US presidents who practiced subtle diplomacy, Trump sees the world in stark, binary terms. There are no gray areas. For him, a country is either fully with him or it is completely against him. This rigid, transactional mindset is exactly how he justified his economic war on Canada. He branded Canada's leaders as weak, disloyal, and disrespectful of American trade interests. The fact that Canada had been one of America's closest allies for decades meant absolutely nothing. The very moment Trump believed Canada was stepping out of line, he unleashed punishing tariffs and restrictions to bring the country to its knees. Now Keir Starmer appears to be walking down that same dangerous path. He seems to think he can carefully balance a working relationship with Trump while at the same time embracing one of Trump's biggest challengers on the world stage, Mark Carney. But this is a grave miscalculation. So far, Starmer has been lucky. He successfully secured an exemption from Trump's brutal US tariffs, shielding Britain's industries from the kind of punishment Canada is suffering. That arrangement has been vital for Britain's post-Brexit economy. Without it, the consequences would be catastrophic. But how long can this fragile protection last now that Starmer is openly entertaining ties with Carney? Hosting the Canadian Prime Minister in London, at this precise moment, is not just a gesture of friendship. It is a gamble, one that places Britain's economic future directly at risk. The reality is simple. Donald Trump does not forgive leaders who associate with his adversaries. If he was willing to crush Canada's economy over a trade dispute, what makes Keir Starmer believe that Britain will be spared if he crosses the line?
Because they've really taken advantage of us. And, we have over a $300 billion deficit. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products. They take almost nothing. And we take everything from them, millions of cars, tremendous amounts of food and farm products. So the UK is way out of line.
Instead of taking a cautious, neutral stance, Keir Starmer went even further. He deliberately emphasized Britain's strong and unshakable ties with Canada, making it absolutely clear that he views Mark Carney as far more than just a visiting leader. Starmer's words were unmistakable: two sovereign allies with so much in common, shared history, shared values, and even a shared king. This was no ordinary diplomatic courtesy. It was a direct message to Washington. A declaration that Britain and Canada are not just friends, but partners who are fully aligned in their approach to global trade and diplomacy. There are great ties between our two countries, Starmer declared, a statement that, to Trump, reads not as friendship, but as open defiance.
Economically, there are great ties between our two countries, so it's very, very good to be able to welcome you here as an ally, a friend, and two countries with a very, very strong camaraderie, support for each other, and history and future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Keir. Merci beaucoup pour cet accueil. We have a remarkable history, as you said, between our countries, and it is remarkable because it's built on shared values. And we're at a point in history where the world is being...
Carney's government has already taken a hard anti-Trump stance. He has been crystal clear, declaring that Canada will never ever, in any way, shape, or form, be part of the United States. This was a direct rejection of Trump's rhetoric, the idea that Canada would be better off as America's 51st state. If Starmer truly wanted to remain in Trump's good graces, he would have kept his distance from Carney's defiance. Instead, he has made Britain look like a silent supporter of Canada's resistance strategy. So the only question now is this: how long before Trump retaliates? For now, Britain has been spared the full force of Trump's economic wrath. Starmer managed to secure exemptions from his aggressive tariffs, but those exemptions came with an unspoken condition: Britain would not interfere in Trump's trade battles. By engaging openly with Carney at such a critical moment, Starmer has broken that understanding. And Trump's record is clear: he does not forgive what he sees as disloyalty. He punishes it, and he punishes it hard. If Trump was willing to cripple Canada's economy with relentless tariffs, why should Britain be immune? The reality is, Starmer doesn't have the same leverage as Carney. If Trump decides that Britain is no longer a reliable partner, the UK could be the next victim in his escalating trade war. And that leaves only one question: not if Trump retaliates, but when, and how severe will the punishment be? The possibilities are alarming. Trump could immediately impose tariffs on British exports, hitting industries that depend on US markets: cars, steel, agriculture, just as he did to Canada. The shockwaves could push Britain's fragile post-Brexit economy into crisis. Second, Trump could sour diplomatic relations with the UK, treating Britain not as a trusted ally, but as an unreliable partner. The consequences would go far beyond trade. Military cooperation, intelligence sharing, even Brexit-related negotiations could all be at risk. Finally, Trump could back Starmer into a corner, demanding that Britain either distances itself from Carney or faces devastating economic punishment. That would put Starmer in an impossible position: betray a close Commonwealth ally, or risk crippling Britain's economy. The most dangerous part? Starmer has no contingency plan. If Trump retaliates, Britain will be completely exposed, with no leverage to fight back. Carney himself is not the one at greatest risk, Britain is. Canada, despite its economic dependence on the US, has fallback trade routes with Europe and Asia. But the UK, post-Brexit, does not have that same flexibility. Starmer should have seen this coming. Instead, he has walked Britain straight into a crisis it was never part of. If Trump decides to escalate his trade war against the UK, the responsibility will rest entirely on Starmer's shoulders. Trump has already shown the world that he will crush nations that defy him. If Starmer does not act quickly to repair relations, Britain could be the next victim. So what do you think? Should Starmer stand with Canada and risk Trump's anger? Or should he take Trump into confidence and assure him that Britain won't interfere in this trade war? Backhand index pointing right. Share your views in the comments below. Do you believe Trump will expand his economic war to Britain if Starmer keeps standing by Canada? And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on British politics and the dramatic changes shaping our future. Until the next video, stay tuned.